All right, episode 3 of Winded City Countdown. I'm Scott Sternal, joined with Matt Urich, Ben Russo, and we're back again, but not by popular demand. I think we can all agree, right? There is no popular demand. Nobody's actually asking for this, but we're going to continue to do it. Got quite the list tonight. We're going to talk Super Bowl and Super Bowl awesome moments. Big week, guys. We're not at Media Day. We're not big enough yet to be at Media Day. And I know,
That's
Matt,
next year. That's next year.
as a journalist, Matt, I know Media Day is one of your favorite things.
That is by far the dumbest thing because they literally let anybody in. If I would have went to San Francisco, I'm
You
pretty
could have
sure
got in.
I could have walked in. There's people wearing like costumes and all that other stupid stuff. So yeah, I think Media Day's completely stupid.
Ben, do you concur with this?
Yeah, I mean, you can watch it, and it's just like they have people from everywhere just asking, like, just obnoxious questions that have nothing to do with the actual game, or most of the time not even the actual sport that they're playing. It's just like random things like, hey, what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite movie, or whatever. So
And the best thing is, with all that said, you damn well know if I was there, I'd be touting it as like the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. But on the outside, and jealous of me who's not there, I'm gonna say it's stupid.
Yeah, it is. It's dumb. It makes no sense. It's a waste of time. It's a complete waste of everybody's time. And yet somehow, I'm sure at some point tomorrow, Is it tomorrow or is it Wednesday?
What?
The Media Day.
It's right now.
It's happening right this moment?
Yeah, they did it. It's prime time now. It's at night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's going. That makes it like even crazier. I don't know if they're doing what they did last year, where they let people buy tickets, but there's something. I'm fairly certain tonight's the one big main night. 'Cause
I want
know
to
it's.
meet the person that bought a ticket, like, and
No,
didn't buy it to be ironic. Like they bought it to be like, man, Media Day, I gotta go. I have to be there.
Well, they'd have to do is like make a blog, and then they could go stand down on the field or wherever they're because it's not on the field. I don't know where they're holding it, but either way, it's dumb. Except if I was there.
Maybe next year, man. So we'll get into the list in just a minute, but we're going to try a little bit different with the format tonight. We're going to start with our sports talk, and then we're going to go into the list for the back half of the show. So let's start it off. Super Bowl 50 is 6 days away. The big game. Ben Russo, where are you at? You were pretty confident that Denver was going to make it a game. Have you wavered on this at all?
no, I mean, nothing's happened to change my opinion. I mean, if anything, I'm feeling even better about it watching this line just to continue to slide into Carolina's favor. I thought I read it got to -6. I could be wrong. I know it was at least at -5.5 for a while, but nothing's changed my opinion on Denver's defense at this point. I mean, do I think Carolina is going to win? Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if Denver wins. I just think the defense is good enough. I think Manning is smart enough to not make those dumb errors. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. I mean, outside of something drastic happens, I mean, I haven't heard anything new on Thomas Davis or Jared Allen if they're going to be playing or not. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can look at it and be like, oh, Denver just doesn't stand a chance, because that's what we said against New England, and look what happened. So,
Matt Urich, thoughts?
I am trying to convince myself it could be a game, and I want to convince myself that Peyton Manning can be like Peyton Manning won last night, because that was that other. We all saw that report or wherever it was last week that Manning, when he shook Belichick's hand, said, essentially it was going to be his last run, and then a report came out today. I'm not sure if it was NFL. I think it was NFL.com that Manning's been telling his family and friends that this is it, like this is the end. So like I'm trying to convince myself or like tell myself it's going to be a game. I think it can be because I'm with Ben. Denver's defense is just so good, and I know Cam Newton, obviously MVP or should be the MVP this year, but I think Wade Phillips is going to have something for him. I honestly think it's going to be a high-scoring game, as odd as that sounds. That goes against what I'm saying, but Super Bowls are weird. We've seen so many weird things over the years, so I don't have a real good feeling, but I do have a prediction. But we'll get to that. I think we're all going to do predictions at some point, I think, before we run out of here. So
Yeah, we'll do the predictions before we hit the list here, so that we can all make fun of whoever gets it really wrong come next Monday. I'm gonna make a case for why this is going to be a blowout, and it has to do with Denver's offense, which I don't think their offense is very good. They haven't been in sync. They've shuffled the chairs on the Titanic with Osweiler and Manning over the last few weeks, and I'm looking at the Super Bowl 48 box score, and I really forgot how bad Denver's offense played in that game, because here you have it was 36-0 before Denver scored their first points at the end of the third quarter. And the scoring came from a safety, field goal, a Marshawn Lynch 1-yard run, then an interception, a kickoff return, and then a cursed 23-yard touchdown reception. So you had 16 points come off of defensive plays, and then 2 field goals. So even though Seattle's offense wasn't doing a tremendous job in that game, they didn't even need to, because Denver's offense was so terrible and Seattle's defense was so good that it made up the difference. And I think you're going to see a little bit of the same here. I think the Panthers' defense is more than up to the task of playing Denver. I think you have a Carolina offense that, even if they're okay, they should still be able to score a little bit. I mean, there's just not a lot that I can hang my hat on and say, yep, I think that's a place where Denver can absolutely shut down Carolina, and because they're going to have to. The Denver defense is going to have to shut down Cam Newton, and then Peyton Manning is going to have to throw the ball. And he cannot throw the ball anymore. And it's that simple for me. And you go back through the Super Bowls, and 9 times out of 10, if you're not sure, you always go with take the quarterback. Who's got the better quarterback? And if I wasn't sure, I'd go Carolina. But I'm absolutely certain, if I could legally go find myself a place to go and put some money down on the game, I would put it all on Carolina. And because I don't know that I see a way for Denver to go out there and win this game. And for your comment, Ben, that New England, we thought New England would win. Looking back now in hindsight, I mean, New England didn't really have a run game. New England really didn't have an offensive line, and it showed against that Denver's defense. And Carolina has both of those things, and Cam Newton has been the MVP of the league this year. So I've given you all of that. Ben, respond.
I just think I understand what you're saying about what Seattle did to Denver, but there's a completely different team for 2 reasons. DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, who were not on that 2013 team. I mean, yes, they got creamed by Seattle. There's no way I'm going to sit here and defend that, but I think that's going to make a huge difference. Carolina's offensive line, yes, is much better than New England. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, they have Pro Bowlers, but the Pro Bowler, there's 150 Pro Bowlers in the NFL this year.
True.
So
well, that's the thing.
What it is.
I believe all 5 of the Panthers' offensive linemen were Pro Bowlers, and I know Michael Orr is he's blindside guy. He's not that good. He's fine, but I think
I don't know if you guys saw, but
overstated
Ben made
on
the
all
Pro
that.
Bowl. Ben got voted into the Pro Bowl.
Well, yeah, there was something because of how many people got asked to go. They had, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was 1 in 6 NFL players got asked to go to the Pro Bowl.
Right.
Crazy. It's stupid.
I don't think Carolina's offensive line is the greatest thing in the league, but you look at what Denver's done since. They added DeMarcus Ware, they added T.J. Ward, Von Miller is healthy. Aqib Talib. Chris Harris is a better player than he was. If he's gonna, hopefully he should be healthy this time. Malik Jackson is having a heck of a year. Derek Wolfe is playing at
J.J.
top
Watt,
level.
That's what he's become.
This is a much better team than that 2013 team, defensively at least. Obviously, offensively, that's where the question lies, and I don't really have a way to talk up Denver's offense because we've seen Manning this year. He's not the Peyton Manning that we've known the last 18 years or whatever it's been, but I think he can do enough, and I think they are going to rely so much on that defense, and I think the defense is going to come ready to play. I mean, I really have nothing else to stand on other than I think that defense can hold Carolina down enough that you need Manning to make one or two plays, which I think he's still capable of doing, like you saw against New England. I mean, the one guy was open, but the other touchdown to Daniels, I mean, that was a good throw. I mean, he still had it on that play, and that's all you need. If you can get anything in the run game, benefit Denver. So,
yeah, to me, with this, like to go back on what I was talking about with Manning saying this or telling some people apparently that this is his last go around. I find it so hard to believe that Manning could end up being a 1-3 in the Super Bowl if he loses this one. I know it's so dumb to base things off of that, and I understand that, but I think there's just going to be something there. I think that defense is so good, and I really like Carolina. I love what Cam Newton does, but it's tough. Yet I'm sitting here talking Manning up and how I think he could do something, yet I don't have Denver predicted to win.
All right, so let's do it. Let's get to the predictions. We'll start with Ben. What do you got?
I really want to pick Denver. I really do, but I'm not going to because I'll go Carolina 23-20.
Okay, so you'd put the money on Denver to cover the spread.
Yes.
Okay, Matthew, your prediction?
My prediction, and by the way, I got some nuggets and tidbits too that I'll wait till you do your prediction, Scott. But my prediction, like I said before, as good as I think these two defenses are, Super Bowls are weird. They're always weird. Things happen you don't expect to happen. So I am picking Carolina. I've got them 34, Denver 27.
All right, and I've obviously made my case. You all know where I'm going with this. And the answer is it's going to be Carolina 38, Denver 14, another rout, and everyone's going to look back at Manning's career and say, thank God he got to play Rex Grossman once upon a time to get at least one Super Bowl victory. But yeah, 38-14, and I might be generous on that 14 for Denver. So we'll see what happens. I really can't see Manning doing it. Matthew, nuggets and tidbits before we hit the list.
All right, just a few. Manning is the first quarterback ever to lead multiple franchises to multiple Super Bowls. So 2 with Indy and 2 with the Broncos.
Okay.
Manning at the age of 39 and Cam Newton at the age of 26. That is the biggest age gap in starting quarterbacks ever in Super Bowl history. And Broncos head coach Gary Kubiak will be the first person to both play and coach the same team in a Super Bowl. He was Elway's backup. I don't know if he was Elway's backup in both of those Super Bowls that they won or not, but he'll be the first coach to ever play for a team and be their head coach in a Super Bowl.
Great nuggets. Good nuggets.
Another one would be Peyton Manning if he wins, will overtake Brett Favre for most career wins.
Yep.
By
with
one.
With 200, right? I think that's what the number would be.
That alone makes me want to go heavy for that. And listen, I know I'm beating up on Denver. I really want to see Manning have the storybook ending and go out on top.
Get the walk-off. It'd be awesome, but I have no dog in this fight, really. I mean, I'd love to see Cam win, too, because I think he's a amazing talent, and hopefully that would help sort of shut some people up, but we'll find out, right?
I guess part of me I think we still underplay that, and yes, Manning's 1 and 2, but this is Newton's first time on the big stage, the Super Bowl. This isn't Sunday Night Football. This isn't Monday Night Football. This isn't that Thursday night primetime game. And this is the Super Bowl. You're one of 2 left. I think that does affect people. Will it affect the Panthers? I don't know. But I think there is something to the fact that Manning's been here before. He's obviously lost a couple, but he's also won one. So I think that says something. I think that's a hungry Denver Broncos team.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens Sunday around 4:30 is the kick, I believe, right?
I thought it
I
was
think it's 5:25 or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's
Even
always
better.
something.
5:25. We'll have the national anthem prop going off, and everybody will be starting their stopwatches to see, hey, did we predict the over/under on the national anthem? All right. This week's list is the top 10 Super Bowl moments in our lifetimes. Again, we are leaving pretty much everything off pre-1992. I'll continue to say that every single week, but pre-1992, we don't discuss it. Why? We didn't see it. We didn't live it. We did not experience it. How do we come up with these lists? We've never explained it, so let's do that now. I do a top 10 list. Ben does one. Matt does one. We email it to Ben. Ben goes ahead and signs everybody's first place team 10 points, second place team 9 points, all the way down to their 10th place at 1 point, and adds up the points and makes a list based off those points. And we get the 10 moments of the top 10 list or bottom 10 list as it was last week. So pretty straightforward there. So tonight it is the 10 best moments in recent Super Bowl history. 2 moments you won't see on this list that were honorable mentions, missing by a point each. The Isaac Bruce 74-yard TD catch in Super Bowl 34 that put the Rams ahead for good in that game, and then the Tracy Porter pick 6 in Super Bowl 44. Both pretty nice moments, but not quite good enough to reach the top.
The one with Isaac Bruce that I think I was surprised it didn't make it was Titans had just tied it, and that was there was just over 2 minutes. I want to say it was like 2 minutes and 3 or 4 seconds, and Bruce's touchdown was the first play after that ensuing kickoff. So Titans tied it. First play from scrimmage for the Rams was a 74-yard touchdown. And then I watched a clip on it, and I guess they had basically been waiting to run this play like the entire game. Like they were just waiting for that perfect moment, and that was it, and it worked to perfection.
And the genius known as Mike Martz was born. and then he came to Chicago and other places. And wanted to trade Greg Olson. Anyways, we're not doing depressing this week.
Yeah.
Last week was way too depressing. This week was a lot more fun.
It was, and so let's get to it. So we'll hit 10 through 6 first, recap it, 5 through 2, recap it, and then we'll hit number 1, talk about that, and then say goodbye for episode 3 and preview for you episode 4. All right, so number 10, the Mario Manningham sideline catch in Super Bowl 46 against the Patriots that propelled the Giants to their second Super Bowl victory against the Patriots in, I don't even know how many years that was.
4 or 5, something like that.
4 or 5 years. Number 9, the Desmond Howard kick return against the Patriots in Super Bowl 31. Number 8, the Pats beating the Rams in Super Bowl 36. Vinatieri's game-winning field goal does it. That was I believe, the biggest upset in modern Super Bowl history. 7, the James Harrison TD in Super Bowl 43, the 100-yard return that was the longest in Super Bowl history. And then a Chicago favorite that was awesome and ultimately just became a footnote in the Super Bowl, but was really cool. Super Bowl 41, Devin Hester returns the opening game kickoff for a touchdown. So, Ben, moment on that 10 through 6 that you'd really like to highlight?
Obviously, briefly, just the Devin Hester one. It's actually the only one, I believe, that made the list that didn't actually win, but I mean, that was his electric season. I think he had 5 returns during the regular season, so just kind of capped it off. I mean, it was a great play. If you watch the replay, it just happened so fast. He caught it at, I want to say it was like a 92-yarder, and he made like one move that nobody saw coming, and then he was just gone, like always. But I think the Desmond Howard return was one that, when I started making the list, that was one of the first 2 or 3 that I wrote down. It didn't make my top 2 or 3, but it was one of the ones that popped out in my head. I think it's just because going back, I mean, that was one of the first Super Bowls I can really honestly remember watching from start to finish. And again, New England came down. I think they cut it to like whatever it was, like a 4 or 5 point lead, and again, that was the ensuing kickoff that Desmond Howard brings back. Just an incredible play for a guy that had so much hype coming into the league. A former Heisman winner. His moment in the sun, just having a great game. I mean, he also had, I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good punt return in the game as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was your MVP.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Desmond Howard one, the Devin Hester one, and the James Harrison one I remember because I was cheering for the Cardinals to score a touchdown because I would have won whatever you call it with the points or whatever. When
Super
you
Bowl
have,
square.
Yeah, I would have won the squares if Arizona scored a touchdown. But then when Harrison brought it back, I was pissed until I realized that if he scored, which he did, I would have won the squares anyway. So it was a good day because I was winning one way or the other. So
Yeah, Matt, we'll go to you next. I know you and I talked a little bit about this, how that Harrison play was just one of a number of plays from Super Bowl 43 that was just awesome. And I think we even went as far as to say Super Bowl 43 may have been the best Super Bowl that we've seen in the last 10 years for sure, and potentially the best we've seen in our viewing lifetime, right? Not since, don't want to hit any of those ones in the 80s but when we were live, but when we actually started watching the Super Bowl.
I kind of forgot how good that game was. I went back last week. That is one of the cool things about, they used to call it NFL Rewind, now it's NFL Game Pass, but you could go back and watch, I don't know if you could watch every Super Bowl, but pretty much every Super Bowl the last 20, 25 years. And I went back and watched the majority of that game. That was so good, and pretty much the fourth quarter was amazing. And we get to more of that game later on, but the Hester return, I'm going to start off with that one as well, because such an amazing, that may be my favorite moment in Chicago sports for me. That moment singularly, with nothing else to do with the rest of that game, it was amazing. One of the most amazing experience. It's crazy to say, but one of the most amazing experiences of my sports watching life was that moment, because we all knew how good Hester was, and we all knew that they had that potential. And my favorite thing is Jim Nantz, right before he kicks it off, talks about how the Colts had a really hard time stopping kick returners that year. And then Hester just, like Ben said, he makes a cut that you're like, how in the hell did you just do that? And he was gone. You knew nobody was touching him. So that moment just singularly is so amazing. I had totally forgot about the Desmond Howard one. That game's still a little foggy in my head. But I went back through and I watched that return earlier today. That one was pretty amazing. I know Ben didn't touch on the Mario Manningham return, and I don't think, Ben, you didn't have that on your list, did you?
No, to be honest, I completely forgot about that one as well. So.
And that one, I mean, it was more because it was just a great catch. Yeah, it had a lot to do with that game, obviously, but there were still 3.5 minutes left on the clock on that Manningham catch. But to the James Harrison moment, I watched that yesterday probably 5 times. He had an amazing break on that ball. B, I don't know how the hell he outran those guys.
He should have been tackled 4 times.
Yeah, and especially the ones where there was one where there was 3 or 4 people. I know Warner tried to get him. That wasn't going to happen. But Bolden, Steve Breston, and Anquan Bolden all had a chance to get him. And then Fitzgerald fell out of bounds. He came back. Harrison still, trouncing down the field. And I don't know, Fitzgerald got him at maybe the 3, the 4.
Yeah, and then, he fell into the end zone.
Yeah, and then Breston jumps into him. They try stripping the ball. I don't know why they were trying to strip it. They should have just tackled him or tried to, but that looked impossible too. And then Harrison's just laying in the end zone, dead. He was not moving. I don't know, that moment is just so.
And I think
so cool to watch.
One of the best parts of that play is in the moment you realize this play is either going down as one of the greatest of all time
or nothing.
Or nothing, because it's the end of the half. Because even if he just gets it 99 yards and it's 4 minutes left in the third quarter or something, and then the Steelers run in a touchdown, that play is iconic because it helps the Steelers win the Super Bowl, and it's a play that results in a touchdown ultimately. But it was so close to not being anything. And then it was.
I mean, it's a forgotten moment. If he gets knocked out at the 5, the 10, whatever, It's something that you're like, oh yeah, it was a cool
I mean,
moment, but
I don't
nothing.
know. It was still a great play because Arizona was about to score, and it was
Right.
a 14-point swing.
I'm just saying though, it just
But do
the
you think that moment
tone of
would
the
have made
moment.
this? Would that moment have made this top 10 had he not scored? Do you think it would have? I don't think it would have. For me,
It,
Yeah,
it's definitely just one of the it is it's an all or nothing play. It's still a great play. It's probably top 15, top 20 for sure. But to say that it's the seventh best play in Super Bowl history, and I had it up in my top three. I know that because I just the importance of that play, the timing of that play, what's on the line with that play just really resonated with me. So recapping 10 through 6, 10 Mario Manningham's sideline catch in Super Bowl 46. Number 9, Desmond Howard's return in Super Bowl 31. Number 8, the Pats over the Rams. We didn't really touch on that one, but man, that was just the start of Bill Belichick
yeah,
and the
they were.
Patriots.
You sort of touched on it when you're running down the list, and I got this written down because I looked it up. The Pats were 14-point underdogs. 14. That's crazy. And that Rams team was really good because that year before was the year that I don't think a lot of people thought the Rams could win with
Mm-hmm.
Warner. There were still questions, and then they come back that next year and they were really, the what were
The
they
greatest
called?
show
The
on turf.
greatest show on turf.
and that team was so explosive, and you didn't know what Brady was. And Vinatieri, that kick there is the only Super Bowl that's ever been determined on the last play of the game, which is pretty ridiculous when you think of it. There's been 49 of these, and that's the only time that's ever happened.
Number 7, James Harrison's longest TD in Super Bowl history in Super Bowl 43, and then Hester at number 6 with the opening game touchdown. So, and that will be the only one that ends up as a loser play on our list, but it's still super iconic. And because we're from Chicago and we're Winded City Sports, and it's our list, we're gonna keep it there.
So, real quick, I have the Super Bowl media day on my television. It's on mute.
Of course you do. You
Uh,
just want to pretend you're there.
so I look to my left, and here's why it's stupid. Josh Norman, cornerback, all pro, more than likely, a pro bowler, is wearing a lucha libre mask that another gentleman who was wearing a lucha libre mask gave him. It was answering questions. That's why Super Bowl Media Day is stupid.
Hey Ben, do you see the jealousy in Matt's eyes right now?
Matt wishes he could be wearing a Lucha Libre mask right now.
Well, he stole my damn idea.
Oh, Matthew. All right, so now we're on to 5 through 2. This is where we get into some real iconic moments. Number 5, the Malcolm Butler INT in the end zone. That was last year, and I know for Matt you didn't really want to put that too high because recent history and were you overplaying it, but it is one of the all-timers. Number 4, Santonio Holmes touchdown catch to win that Super Bowl, that Arizona Steelers Super Bowl, Super Bowl 43. The John Elway helicopter run, which if he scores a touchdown there, that's number 1, without question, I think. It ends up just being a first down, and it really swayed a lot of that game. But if that's a touchdown instead of just a first down, holy smokes, that thing that gets played a lot at the Super Bowl. That would get played even more. And then number 2, Mike Jones tackles Kevin Dyson on the 1.
Sorry, I had to.
You know what, Matt? Just go back to watching your media day. It's okay. I know you're jealous. And number 2, Mike Jones getting tackled tackling Kevin Dyson on the 1, Super Bowl 34. Whew. Good plays. Ben, let's start with you. John Elway one has to be pretty much a favorite of yours because that you went through a little bit of a Denver Broncos phase there in the late 90s.
Benny Bronco.
Benny Bronco.
Yeah, I was a big Terrell Davis guy, so I was obviously in. Plus, they were playing the Packers, so obviously cheering for Denver there. But yeah, again, one of the first ones that popped into my head. The significance of it. I don't want to say that it was minor. It was a 17-17 game. I believe it was like a 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, something like that. And him just diving, laying out, and I still, again, you can I don't need to look at an instant replay to remember that play. I remember him diving. I remember, him spinning around, and then I can't remember the safety, but the guy coming in second to hit him again to send him down. And then Terrell Davis ends up scoring, and that's where they took the lead 24-17, I think.
Was that when Terrell Davis was blind?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I actually thought about putting on the list was Terrell Davis in that game, who had, I believe it was 30 carries for like 154 yards and 3 touchdowns. One of which, if you remember, Green Bay let him score to go up 31-24 because they wanted more time on the clock. Yeah, I mean the helicopter run is it's something that you remember. If you're a fan of football, if you're a fan of the Super Bowls, you remember that Elway helicopter run. I mean, these are all. I think you can make a case for all of these to be number one. 5 through 1. I think you can make a case for all of them to be number one. To me, though, the Mike Jones tackle, that was my number one. Obviously, at this point, I think we know what the number one is, but I won't say it. But tackling him on the 1 yard line to save the Super Bowl win. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, you stopped them from scoring, you won the game. That was the final play of the game. Maybe Adam Vinatieri goes down as the only time to ever win the game on the last play, but I mean,
technically,
Mike Jones saved the game on the last play. I mean, it was just an incredible tackle, one-handed, grabs him, wraps him up around the waist, kind of trips him up with his other hand at the end, but I mean, just a gutsy play. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I think you can make a case for all of these top 5 to be number one, but the Mike Jones one and the helicopter run by Elway were the 2 that really stood out for me.
So for me, Scott touched on it earlier that the Malcolm Butler interception from last year's Super Bowl 49, I put that at my 10, I believe. Yeah, 10. And because I didn't want to be jaded by it being so close, within the last year, and I feel like sometimes people can hang on to stuff like that and make a bigger deal out of something that happened more recently. But I did actually have a chance. I went back through, I watched the fourth quarter of that game last night, and first of all, hell of a fourth quarter. That's up there with the Santonio Holmes Super Bowl 43. To me, that fourth quarter is really, really good, especially because Seattle had all these receivers that you'd never heard of all of a sudden become really good. But that Malcolm Butler one, I do now feel like I probably should have had that a little bit higher. In the end, I think, like Ben said, it sort of just works out because these 5 are all 5 that they could all have a valid argument to be number one. But just a great play by a rookie who somehow the Patriots knew they were going to pass when everybody in the world thought they were going to run the ball, and I still don't know why they never ran the ball there.
Marshawn Lynch is still waiting for the carry.
Yeah, still. He's sitting there eating some Skittles waiting for it. Santonio Holmes, that fourth quarter by him, and obviously specifically the catch there and at the end, near the end of the game, corner of the end zone.
That entire drive,
the entire drive, he had 4.
Just the TD catch.
Yeah,
I mean,
he had 4 catches for 73 yards on that drive.
It's unbelievable.
And he was catching balls in traffic. He was picking up yards after the catch. That play before, when he caught the ball, he caught it in the corner of the end zone. Would have been to the right of Roethlisberger. The play before, man, he had one go right through his hands in the left, off to his left in the corner of the end zone, where he got his feet down perfectly, and he sort of had to like twist his body when he came down, but the ball went right through his hands, and Roethlisberger, I mean, he had no problem going back to him that next drive. The fact that he got with a corner and a safety covering him, and he was able to A, catch the ball, B, know where he is on the field to tap his toes, and then to maintain possession completely through the catch. Unbelievable. Unbelievable catch. I had to have watched that 10, 15 times in a row. I just kept rewinding it and watching it over and over again. Because, I mean, kudos to him for that, but Roethlisberger threw a perfect ball, too.
Yeah.
All tremendous points. And the one thing for me, when I look at this list that really stands out is just how close you had number 4, number 3, number 2 to going to overtime, which I am just dying for a Super Bowl to go to overtime at this point. Just one of my favorite things in sports is sudden death overtime in hockey because of just the finality of it. And there's two things that I want out of an overtime of Super Bowl. One, I want one because I think it would be tremendous. But I also would love to just see the NFL get egg on their face when
somebody scores and the game's over in one possession.
And that's it. And you have either Peyton Manning or Cam Newton on Sunday sitting on the sidelines, and they never touch the ball.
Yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers and the Packers against Arizona.
And against Seattle 2 years ago.
Yeah, I absolutely hate NFL overtime. Hate it. Think it's so dumb.
And in the regular season, I understand this rule.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll give you that much. I still think it's dumb, but it doesn't make sense to play a full quarter in the NFL when you only play 16 games a year.
And here's the thing. I get it in the regular season. I also get that the NFL can't have games ending in ties because Americans are stupid and hate ties. Really stupid that we as a country go, a tie, what's that? It's a tie, okay? It's a tie. The teams are even that day. It's a tie. It's fine. But I love, though, I'd love to see this happen because I think what your playoff overtime really needs to be is it needs to be a 15-minute period and that's it, and you go with it. But anyways, back to the list. The three there, the Santonio Holmes, the John Elway, the Mike Jones, all three of those plays ultimately were the catalyst that prevented those games from going to overtime and giving us that awesome potential moment. And so, as much as I love those moments, they're a little bittersweet for me in that regard. But to go back to what Ben said earlier, that Elway helicopter run, that's the moment from, I would say, our childhood that I remember most. It's the one that I see all the time, and I go, "Yep, that's the moment I remember the most."
I'm with you. That's the first big standout moment, Super Bowl wise for me, was that one, because up to that point, I honestly remember so little from any Super Bowls. But that one, like Ben said, it is that thing where you don't have to see a replay to see it. You bring it up, I'm sure there's people that are listening to this podcast right now that you don't have to hop on YouTube to check it out to see it. You literally see it in your head. You see him diving. You see him spinning up in the air. You see the safety coming and ramming him as he flips. It's just so iconic, and that's what's so awesome about sports. The ability to remember something or how the memory of something takes you to a moment in life, in a moment of where you were when you saw that. It was an awesome moment.
So number 5, Malcolm Butler's interception in the end zone of Super Bowl 49. Santonio Holmes, Super Bowl 43 touchdown catch. John Elway's helicopter run in Super Bowl 32 was number 3. And Mike Jones' tackle of Kevin Dyson on the 1 is Super Bowl 34. That is our number 2, which brings us, gentlemen, to the number 1 play for Winded City Countdown this week. And as you hear the train in the background...
That's not a train. That's a signifier. That's how we know we're at number 1.
That's how we know we're at number 1, and I'm pretty sure there's some Boston fans out there that are going, man, I want to take my figurative Patriot fan self and walk it in front of that train because, my goodness.
Hold on. You can't say there's some Boston fan thinking and then not say what they're thinking in a Boston accent.
I'm not doing a Boston accent, Matt. I'm not doing it. Not
so
on
that's something to do with Alex Rodriguez?
Yeah, that's how you get into it.
That's a story for another day.
That is a story for a much different podcast.
Although I will tell you, I would give anything to find out that Jimmy Trolley from Boston, from the Sam Adams Brewery. See, I'm already going to it. I'm already going to the Sam Adams thing. I hope he's listening out there and that we can tell the tale of Jimmy Trolley one day.
Oh, I will find him. And his name, I don't even think his name's Jimmy, which makes this even better. But again, there's no context of the story for anybody, so that... I think someday we may touch on this just because it's that funny, but that has little relevance right now. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Anyways, Boston sports. Here we go.
Before I say number 1, Matt, I will say that story is only funny to like 6 of us.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, but I'm one of those 6, so... I think
Yeah,
it's funny.
we don't care about you. Go back to watching Media Day, which you're jealous that you're not at. Okay. Ben and I are going to talk right now about number one, David Tyree, the helmet catch, one of the most unrealistic plays, improbable plays that I've ever seen, and the implications because it wasn't. It, Ben didn't have this as number one because Ben, I'll let you go. Why did you not have this as your number one?
Well, my whole thing was the context of it, like you said. I mean, the Mike Jones was a game-saving, game-winning play. You know, yes, David Tyree's was a great catch, but it was a third down play. It was 3rd and 5, so they still had another chance. It's not like they scored a touchdown on that play. They would have needed to still go down the field and score, which they did. But I mean, it was just. It was my second. It was my number 2, so I don't want to. It's not like I had this thing at like number 10. It was just the simple fact that it wasn't a game-winning play, and there was a lot that went into it, and the fact that it still wasn't. It wasn't the game-winning play itself. They still had time, to get in another play at least to get the 5 yards. That was the only reason why. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from it other than, I think if that's a regular season game, I think that play's blown dead. When Eli Manning's
In the
basically
grasp.
stopped.
He's in the grasp.
Yeah, I mean, probably should have been stopped. If David, think about that throw he made. I mean, he hurled that into, was there 3 Patriots defenders?
Yeah, it's not like.
I mean, you talk about the what ifs. I mean, if that thing gets intercepted, Eli Manning's going down as like one of the most boneheaded plays of all time. Just chucking it up after to save the play into 4 different people, 3 of which are your opponent, and somehow David Tyree makes a catch, which is another argument because I'm not quite sure how that was a catch and Dez Bryant's wasn't, but again, an argument for another day. A great play all around. I mean, unbelievable for him to sort of hold on to that with his helmet, but whatever.
I'm gonna add to this that I agree. It could easily be one of the most boneheaded plays, and now that you're describing it again, it just makes me think that play is when you were in grade school on the playground, and it's as though Eli Manning shouted 500 and chucked the ball in the air, and whoever could come down with it gets 500 points. Like that's what that play really, in retrospect, feels like. It was just literally somebody catch this ball because I'm going to throw it whether I should or not.
See, part of the reason why I chose the play, it's iconic, which obviously a big part of this list. And Eli, I agree with Ben that Eli probably would have been called dead had that been a regular season game. I mean, he rolled out, which not his strong point, and his jersey's getting completely tugged and pulled on, and he sort of gets away from it, chucks a ball up in the air that he probably shouldn't have thrown. Tyree makes a catch that he probably shouldn't have made. But it's one of those things that why that moment is so iconic is how often do you hear people refer to that catch as simply all you have to say if somebody makes a great catch in a game, and I know it doesn't happen often that people are going to catch a ball, on the corner of their helmet, but as I rewatched last year's Super Bowl, it was in Arizona, the same place that game, I believe that game was in Arizona. Yeah, and David Tyree made that great catch. And then you get in this game last year, Seattle, Jermaine Kearse makes this outrageously strange, weird catch where the ball pops up in the air and knocks off the defender, and he's laying on the ground, and he catches it. That would be one of the greatest moments. I guarantee that would have been a catch that would have made this list had they won that game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that was that the main reason they won the game? No, but it was just so outrageously weird, and the fact that they won, and it obviously played a big role on that drive. Because I think that was 3rd down.
It was 3rd and 5.
Okay,
yeah.
So it was 3rd down. So obviously they had to keep that drive going. It's just. It's one of those things that it's similar to the Elway thing to me that I didn't need to see a replay. I see the whole thing. I could see Eli rolling out. I could see him getting tugged down. I could see Tyree somehow leaping in the air. I could see what's his name? Of course I can't remember everything apparently. Rodney Harrison is like up against him trying to rip that out. It's just a freeze frame moment in the world's biggest game, and it was immediately first thing I did when we made our list, because normally I make a list and I just write a bunch of things down. I don't number them, nothing. I just write down right off the top of my head. I wrote 1, David Tyree. There was not even a doubt.
And we still haven't touched on one of the bigger things with that catch too, which is the Patriots were 18-0, and they were going to break all of the Miami Dolphins from 1972 champagne bottles to never be opened again.
And Mercury Morris would have been one pissed off man.
Have been just fine with me. I can't stand those guys.
I hate them too.
Especially when you go back in history and look at that schedule, and I don't think they played anybody better than 8-8 or something like that entire year, or 9-7, or it was something insane. That their schedule is one of the weakest of all times, and you can only beat who's in front of you. I understand that, but holy cow!
I think there's two things with it that make it. I mean, the fact that I'm not watching a replay, and like you said, I can describe that play to a T without looking at a replay. It's in my head. Like you remembered, it was all those weird things that happen that make that play great, and then it was David Tyree.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't even think he was on the team the next year. I don't even think he was in the NFL the next year.
Out of the league.
So, I mean, this is a guy who, off the top of my head, I'd say he maybe has like 200 career receiving yards. I don't know. But
now I got to look it up out of pure curiosity.
He was essentially a nobody that makes this miraculous catch in the Super Bowl in triple coverage. Like, all that builds up. And, I mean, that's why, like I said, this one clearly was our number one. But these were all just like great plays that could build up to number one. And the fact that, again, it was David Tyree. When you look at number 2, it was Mike Jones. Like, who was Mike? Mike Jones was a solid NFL linebacker for a long time, but
and an
he
okay
wasn't
rapper.
One of the greatest. Yeah.
I think Matt's been dying to get that joke in for the last 12 minutes. I'm sure of it.
Really have. Back to David Tyree.
Right in at media day, Matt. I'm not going to
I know.
like that.
Back to David Tyree, just real quick. Career, he played 6 seasons in the NFL, 54 catches for 650 yards with 4 touchdowns. That year, the Super Bowl year, 4 catches, 35 yards. The next year, he was with the Baltimore Ravens. He appeared in 10 games, had no catches. So it's one of those. I think that's what makes that even more startling, or more something you grasp onto a little more, because it's somebody who is sort of a no-name. I guess you can say that too with Malcolm Butler, who I literally could not tell you what he did this year.
He was probably one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL this year. So
was he really? Because I'll be completely honest, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, he was really good. I mean, he was a rookie last year, so. I mean, he's a really good cornerback, and he's a young guy. I mean, David Tyree. Again,
he was essentially nobody.
0 catches.
Yeah, just bad. Just bad career for him. He might go down as like the player with one of the greatest plays ever, and then the worst career after that. He will make all of his money for the rest of his life signing autographs of him making that catch at sports conventions, and fans will overpay for that autograph, and it'll especially be New York Giants fans.
Is he part of? Didn't the Giants invite him to be part of their front office or something? I could be wrong, and I could be making it up, but I vaguely remember them bringing him back for something.
Could be.
Well, you do that. They're just he's the Giants' director of player development. So good for him. There you go. He parlayed a tremendous catch.
One play turned himself into a career.
Well, apparently he must have been a really good special teamer, because this is according to Wikipedia, which we all know. It gives everybody the ability to edit it, so you're getting the best statistics out here. But he was a Pro Bowler in 2006.
We already discussed that. Doesn't mean.
No, I know, but that's just odd. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2005. So it had to have been special teams. I'm guessing he was like a really good gunner.
Good note on David Tyree. He did sign a 1-day contract to retire a New York Giant. So,
Oh, well, good for him.
that
But
goes.
yeah, he did make special teams as like a special teams specialist, but as an all pro. But he also did as a pro bowler, a la former Bears Pro Bowl special teamer Larry Wiggum, pulling
And
that
Glenn
one
Milburn.
pulling that one out of nowhere.
All right, so number one on the list, the David Tyree helmet catch. And counting it down from there, two, Mike Jones tackles Kevin Dyson at the 1. The John Elway helicopter run at 3. Santonio Holmes TD catch at 4. Malcolm Butler's interception in the end zone at 5. Devin Hester returns the opening kickoff of Super Bowl 41 at 6. James Harrison's 100-yard Super Bowl touchdown at 7. The Pats defeat the Rams on a Vinatieri game-winning field goal in Super Bowl 36. Desmond Howard's return in Super Bowl 31. And Mario Manningham bookends this list with Giants plays with a huge sideline catch in Super Bowl 46. So there's your 1 through 10. Another good list. So hopefully some more people listen this week. We'll see what the numbers say. But I will say the numbers have been great so far, so we do appreciate every single one of you that is subscribing, that is downloading, that is listening, that is telling your friends, for joining the Facebook page and liking us there. We're going to just keep on pushing the podcast to see what we could do. And in addition to the podcast, we've got some writing. And I'm going to let our two guys here, because I'm not writing yet. I got lots that I've got going besides that. And I'm not a great writer. I'm not a wordsmith by any means. I direct traffic better than I type on a computer. So, Ben, you are a bit of a wordsmith. And
Well-
you've got a little piece coming tonight or tomorrow, and you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a wordsmith. I think I have good ideas, and then Matt corrects everything that I screw up. So
This is true.
But I'm just doing a little piece on Alshon Jeffrey. I think there's a lot out there with people hemming and hawing. Oh, what do you do with him? Do you give him that big contract? Do you franchise him? Do you sign him to a long-term deal? And it's just really making the point that I don't think he's getting the kind of respect that he probably deserves when you look at his overall numbers and where they rank. I mean, the numbers will speak for themselves when I tell you he's an elite receiver. I mean, I'm not saying he's Antonio Brown or Julio Jones, but there's a lot of numbers specifically from Pro Football Focus that kind of put him in that group with Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. So just a little something where I think I don't understand why there is any hesitation to keep him and sign him to a long-term deal and pay him as though he's an elite receiver, because he is very much an elite receiver.
Very good. And then, Matt, you're going to do our Super Bowl preview for the site.
Yes, I want to touch on some key matchups, maybe, specifically things that, Manning versus Carolina's pass rush, or maybe some specific one-on-ones, those corners, Denver's corners against Carolina's less than stellar wide receivers. Also going to do I think I want to look at maybe 2 or 3 guys that can be your sort of outside of the box Super Bowl MVPs, maybe, or somewhere in that realm. Also want to take a look at some of the funnier prop bets that I always love. Certain things like how long is the national anthem gonna go? I think I saw one somewhere that was with Thomas Davis, who broke his arm or whatever it was and had surgery. What color his cast would be?
I'm guessing that's going off at 1 to 5. That's going to be black.
I would probably, yeah. Real quick, there's another funny one that I saw earlier. Oh, this is probably my favorite one. It's the odds that CBS referee / correspondent Mike Carey is wrong on the first replay challenge, and that's at 5. That's at 5-2 right now. That he's wrong.
Only 5-2 that he will be wrong.
Yes.
Oh, that's a gimme right there. The only way you don't win that is if there's no controversial plays in the Super Bowl, so they don't actually have to bring him in. Although I'd have to imagine there's something in there that's like, if Mike Carey doesn't appear, there is no action. But there's no way Mike Carey's getting all his plays correct in this game. Not a chance in hell.
There's also another one that I liked was the odds on the color of the Panthers jersey of the kid who gets the first touchdown ball from a Panthers player. What color it'll be? Black sitting right now at 3-2. White's 2-1. Blue's 3-1. And no jersey is 18-1. So
I'll tell you this though.
I throw a little money on that 18-1.
I'll tell you this right now. If there's a kid sitting anywhere near the first row of a Super Bowl, I want to go back in time and beat the crap out of that guy's parents because that kid doesn't deserve to be sitting in front row in the Super Bowl.
Wow, strong words. All right, so we'll leave it with our predictions on that prop bet. Matt, you want to go 18-1 on no jersey.
Yeah, I'm going crazy. I'm going 18-1, man. I'll throw $20 on that.
Ben, what's your prediction for who's getting the ball? What color jersey?
I don't even want to think about it because the idea of a kid sitting front row at a Super Bowl, I mean, it's like a $50,000 ticket. What the hell is he doing sitting?
He's getting it from a corporate sponsor. Just leave the kid alone. It's not his fault. His
That
parents
kid
are
sucks and
ruining
he's going to
his
grow up
life.
and get beat up.
Well, I'll tell you, I have no doubt in my mind that kid is wearing a teal jersey. 3-1. You can book that, and you can also book the Carolina Panthers winning this game with one of my favorite prop bets where you can pick the score. I would say if you got like a 14 to 19 point range, go ahead and put some dollar bills down in that one. Carolina Panthers win this game anywhere from 14 to 19 points. That'd be a solid place to go because they are definitely winning this game by 2 touchdowns or more. So that being said, for Ben Russo and Matt Urich, they'll have some stuff on the site up later this week for some writing. We'll keep promoting it. Please keep telling your friends. And remember to click that subscribe button in iTunes. I'm Scott Sternal. Thanks for listening to Winded City Countdown.